Hey, Matt Hatfield here with you as we speak to you from Three Notch Brewery in Town Center in Virginia Beach, celebrating the 50th induction weekend for the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, and we're so pleased to be joined by the man that's getting the Hall of Fame's Distinguished Virginian Award. It's presented to an individual who, by personal example, exemplifies the best ideals and purposes of sport, exhibiting superior leadership qualities in education, athletics, business, and in the community. William & Mary football legend Joe Montgomery from Brookville High in Lynchburg as well. Joe, congrats. Pretty cool weekend. You couldn't have scripted it any better, huh?
Could not have. Great people, great time. You guys are great. The weather's great. How much better can it get?
No, and you go in with Jimmy Laycock, so a couple of William & Mary greats going in the same weekend. And I want to know what brought you to William & Mary from Brookville High School in Lynchburg. Going back in that time in the 70s and the 80s, people say, all right, William & Mary football was on the come-up, if you will.
Yeah, so in 1969, which would have been my last football season at Brookville, we were not a great football team actually at that time, but that was an era when William & Mary, Richmond, VMI, that was really the Big Five, and Virginia Tech was good. I came to William & Mary because Lou Holtz was the football coach. He, to this day, is the best recruiter I've seen. He actually had a vision for you, which was very interesting. I've talked to some of the Notre Dame guys, same kind of thing. He kind of knew your destiny before you did, and he knew exactly how to handle me and telling me what he told me and what he said about my potential was. And then he didn't push me, which was really interesting. So I called him, short version, I called him in January of 70, and I said, Coach, if you still want me, I want to come to William & Mary. And I turned down another school that morning just to prove I'm not all that bright. I probably should have made sure I still had a scholarship before I canceled the other one.
You allowed to tell us what school it was or no?
Well, it was Virginia Tech, and a great school. Jerry Claiborne was a coach. But Holtz had an idea, and he said, I'll be up there this afternoon to sign you. And I said, well, Coach, my parents are going to a wedding. And he said, oh, well, they got to be there. He said, I'll come up tomorrow. So I said, well, Coach, tomorrow is the Super Bowl. So he says, I'll watch it at your house. And I'm getting chill bumps right now just thinking about it, right? So you know why it's important to me. He's there at my mother's little TV trays and German chocolate cake, and we're watching the Chiefs and the Vikings. And so you know why I remember that story. I mean, any player would, right? Yeah. So 50 years later, literally to the day, Super Bowl day, he was in Miami for the Super Bowl, and my phone explodes. And it's guys like Rich and people saying, Coach Holtz is talking about you on Fox News. So somebody figured out how to get it to me. And so what they'd done is they had said, they were talking about the difference in in those days, the Super Bowl wasn't a big deal. And what he was getting at was on TV, he said, oh, yeah, what a big deal. 50 years ago, I'm in Lynchburg, Virginia, recruiting Joe Montgomery. He's gone on to All-America, blah, blah, blah. How does he remember that, right? I mean, I know why I remember, but 50 years later, he just pulls that out. And that's what made him exceptional in my mind about he understood people. And I've stayed connected to him, which is one reason he probably recalls it.
Well, in covering high school football, I see it, that the offensive linemen are a different breed than the other positions, and he probably saw the value differently than other coaches and recruiters. I don't want to speak necessarily for you, but being the center of what he had in his plan, I mean, just tell us a little bit about that once you got there and how it transpired or how it played
fascinating out. You mentioned that. I had I'd been all district as a sophomore as a nose guard. And so, I kind of thought I was a pretty good player. In those days, you played both ways, right? But he said, Joe, we want you to come to William & Mary. If you come, now freshman couldn't play. He said, we have Bob Herb. Bob Herb is going to be an All-America. We think you can be All-America. We think you have the potential to start as a sophomore and on offense. And he never really talked to me about playing defense. And so sort of what you're getting at, the vision of what he saw was really interesting. Now, I've heard that from some of the guys at Notre Dame that he recruited where, they thought they were great offensive players and he knew they could be on defense, and they went on to be first-round draft picks, but they were still mad because they thought they could have been on offense. So
it sounds like in 2017 you were honored by the Rimington Trophy as the Gerald R. Ford Legends Award recipient, and that's presented to former college or pro center that, in addition to his standout career in football, has made significant contributions to football and or business communities or through philanthropic endeavors. So after your playing career, I imagine, from what you're telling me about Lou Holtz, and you see people that are in the hall like Jimmy Laycock as well, these type of mentors made a great impact in you beyond the game that's helped you as well.
Yes, and I think that's one of the great things I particularly like about what Will and the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame are working on with the kids and the young athletes, because sports it transcends everything. Now, I've never been in the military and understand the camaraderie there, but there's a level of camaraderie with sports that is really like nothing else, because it's generally a positive for participating, right? And if you look at William & Mary, I mean, you really hit a great point for me. I have always felt like I've been so fortunate to be engaged with people like Holtz. So I go to William & Mary because of Holtz. Things work out pretty well athletically, but, I've got a degree from William & Mary, right? And
goes a long way.
That's not all typical in many cases for a lot of places. But what's great is a lot of the things that you didn't even know you were learning from him, like delegation, hiring exceptional people. If you look at the assistant coaches he had, you look back on it and you go, wow, that's pretty amazing, lesson learned. And so all I did was really, when football was over for me, I happened to bump into a guy who was he wanted to meet me because he'd seen me play at William & Mary. Remember, I'm at William & Mary because of Holtz. This guy went to William & Mary. He's seen me play. I still thought I might have a few miles left in me somewhere, right, playing. He convinced me to come into the business. He wouldn't have cared about me if I hadn't gone to William & Mary. So we wind up opening an office in Williamsburg, and, we're here today. I'm pretty happy. My life is great. It's all because of the way it worked out, going back to Brookville High School, William & Mary. It's all tied to athletics. And people, like my roommate from college who was a great defensive tackle is here. They've come up from Hill Nib. It's something that is unique to sports that you just don't get in other things.
There's no other higher honor. I mean, everyone wants to win a championship in a team sport, but to go into a Hall of Fame, and your state's Hall of Fame, being a kid from state of Virginia and to play at a state school, I think it has even greater meaning in some respects, doesn't it?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've thought about this a lot. The Gerald R. Ford Award was tremendous, and it is tremendous. And if you get a chance to go out to Nebraska to see what happens, pretty amazing. But likewise, the energy around this, because you look at Virginia, and part of it is, we've been around a long time. But if you go look through the hall, and I have, the 300 and some people that are in it, if you look at the connectivity of those people across to other schools, whereas they might have been at North Carolina, there might have been a Duke, whatever, but then they came and they coached at William & Mary, or somebody played at William & Mary and they went to North Carolina. The connectivity, and part of that is we've been around a long time, we've been playing sports a long time, but that makes it all the richer and the more important.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. Well, Joe Montgomery, congrats on a well-deserved honor tomorrow night. We're looking forward to the Hall of Fame speech and induction for you and 8 others, and we'll see you then.
Thanks so much.
The Distinguished Virginian Award to Joe Montgomery from Brookville High School, a standout center of the tribe of William & Mary.